Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be doing a highly anticipated review on the pilot of Lovecraft Country. Title is known as Sundown. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Lovecraft Country is based on the 2016 novel by Matt Ruff, and we explore Atticus Black's journey as he embarks on a road trip with his friend Letitia and his uncle George to search for his missing father. Oh yeah, and by the way, did I mention that this takes place during 1950s Jim Crow America? Now, can we talk about the title of this pilot for a second? It sends a chill down my spine. The fact that it's called Sundown. And automatically I knew exactly what it was talking about because I knew the premise of the show. The fact that it's called Sundown gives me the creeps, and it's in a great way because it introduces the horror elements that plague this episode. It introduces every terrifying thing you could think of when the sun goes down. The beginning starts off with an intro to Atticus Black right off the bat, and we see where he is, where he's going, and so the agenda of finding his father becomes quite clear within like the first 5 minutes as he's walking down the side of a road with this other Black woman who was heading in the same direction after their bus broke down. And mind you, we're in 1950s Jim Crow America, so the nice white guy who offered everybody else, all the other passengers, a ride in the back of his truck, yeah, that wasn't happening for Atticus Black. They knew they had to walk. I love how the intro within this pilot didn't start off super happy and super cheery, because within a lot of thriller movies, even actually any movie that you can think of, I feel like when there's a shift in tone, it's not ever so slightly, or it's just completely opposite, that you're like, wait, what? It wasn't super chippy, super cheerful. You just knew that there was a sort of heaviness that existed the moment you really got into the show. Maybe within like 8 minutes, you were like, wait a minute. Like there was something more to him as a character and something more to the story, and it just made you want to continue. But the shift in tone in this episode is definitely something that a lot of other people can learn from when developing a film or a TV series. But let me go back a little bit. Before this bus broke down, we saw images that existed within Atticus's mind, his imagination, due to what he was reading, which was A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. And that gave us the information that we needed, that insight into who he was. He was a war veteran, caught up in a world who didn't see himself as a hero. Then we meet his family. We meet Uncle George, played by the wonderful Courtney B. Vance. His aunt, played by Anjanae Ellis. And it's great to see Anjanae Ellis, may I say. I need to, where have you been? They need to start using Miss Anjanae Ellis a lot more. Give these folks more work. It's through their dialogue that we discover the relationship between him and his father, his missing father. We discover how he feels about his father. There's that sort of uneasiness and of where he might be, but then there's also that difficult relationship that they faced with each other as well, and they continue to face, that he opens up about, and his Uncle George obviously knows about that. So there's also that conflict within the relationship that I love, and I want to know a little bit more about how his father was as when he was growing up, how his father treated him, and why he sees his father the way that he does. Along the way, we meet Letty, who embarks on this journey along with Atticus and Uncle George in order to find his father. I love how Letty is so free-spirited and just out there and outgoing, and she doesn't take any crap from anyone, but she's just fun overall. One thing that I love about her the most is the fact that she's adventurous. You don't see that in a lot of Black female characters. And so this was something completely different, and I hope that they continue to instill the fact that Black women can be adventurous too. She was down to go wherever they wanted to go, even when they were faced with a lot of challenges down the road as they're driving. And of course they have a lot to worry about as they're driving through, these white towns, knowing darn well they could get killed at any moment. So that was very interesting to see. I loved the three of them paired together. The relationship was just amazing. I love how Courtney B. Vance doesn't necessarily take on the older uncle role like I know was best. He was actually really relaxed as they were in these towns where people refused to treat them as human beings. If anything, I thought that that characteristic would be within the younger, with Letty or perhaps with Atticus, but no, it was actually with Courtney B. Vance's character, Uncle George. So I liked how they threw that in there as if he's this old, carefree man and, oh, we deserve to be here. It was just something that I didn't expect. And I love watching things that I don't expect to see. The environment of their journey really made it feel like it was 1950s Jim Crow America. Literally, I was praying for these characters throughout this film. Oh, I called it a film. And that's another thing. This is not a film. It's a TV series. However, I felt like it was a film. And that's what I loved about it. It's about an hour and 10 minutes long, I will say. Yeah, an hour and 10 minutes long. But I loved every minute of it. And I was so mad when they ended the episode. I'm like, no, I can't wait. Weekly shows are so hard. But if anything, it gives me a chance and an opportunity to let it marinate and then go back and watch as many times as I need to. They really set these characters up really nicely. When they were describing when Atticus was talking to Letty in the forest about some of the monsters and, what the blob monster was and, all of that. I won't reveal too much for those of you who haven't watched it. Seeing the car pull up, you knew that like, oh my God, y'all need to get out of there now. Y'all just can't be anywhere and everywhere. Not in 1950s Jim Crow America now. So just seeing them get out of the situations that you knew could have easily gotten them in trouble, like big trouble. It's a lot on the heart. It is. It's a lot on the heart. The monsters within this episode, convincing. And I loved how Uncle George was telling Atticus about, he was comparing the monsters basically to vampires in a way. It was I can't remember the exact analogy it was, but it made sense in my mind. And so it was nice to see them in survival mode at that point and trying to get out of that situation. And there's just so much more I want to know. And I have a feeling that they'll let us in to who the monsters are, where they come from, and what sort of world they're existing in right now. Besides, 1950s Jim Crow, there's other things out there that are out to get them. I don't really know what we could expect for the next or from that next episode. But I know that I'm excited to see episode 2. Oh, guys, if you have not watched the pilot episode of Lovecraft Country, you need to hop on it now. Stick with it. It's so good. I love how they set up the characters, how they introduce them. You automatically care about these characters. And that's one thing that's been missing this whole time in a lot of films and series, is that half the time I don't care about these characters. Half the time they annoy me. But I care about every single one of the characters in Lovecraft Country. They all have a purpose. And there's a lot of fear to be had while watching this show. And it's just so amazing. And it just felt, you could tell that this was well thought out. Just well thought out. And I can't wait for episode 2. I'm getting excited. So I hope we learn more about the monsters that were chasing him in the forest. I hope we get to see more of Letty's craziness. But also I want to see her, because she has subtle moments, of course, and she does care for Atticus, but I wonder if that could potentially turn into a relationship. And if not, I'm okay if it doesn't, because they just work well as friends too. And Uncle George, I hope he sticks around. He's keeping up. He's good. He ain't that old. And there's just a lot of mystery elements to this. There's so many questions that I have, and I cannot wait. I don't know if they'll reveal it all in the second episode, but I know that I'm sticking with this show until the very end. What did you guys think about episode 1 of Lovecraft Country? Did it do it for you? And will you be tuning into episode 2? I hope my review convinced you guys. Comment down below. Let me know. Make sure you guys follow Movie Vibes with Desiree on Instagram, and I will check you guys later.